Hello everyone and welcome to the lecture on Azure Management Hierarchy, Management Groups, Subscriptions, Resource Groups and Resources. So the first topic is root tenant. So the tenant root group, which is like the root tenant when you open an account in Azure Cloud, is the apex of Azure resource hierarchy, serving as the supreme container for all management groups, subscriptions and resources within a single Microsoft Entra directory. So this root tenant group or tenant root is also a management group. It is built in by default and cannot be moved or deleted, unlike other management groups. Its primary function is to provide a centralized point for global governance across the entire organization. Any policy or role assignment applied at the root level automatically cascades down via inheritance to every resource in the organization. This inheritance mechanism ensures comprehensive compliance and access control throughout the entire Azure environment. Next topic is the Azure Management Hierarchy. So first is the management group. So at the apex of hierarchy, immediately below the root tenant, are management groups. These containers are designed to manage access, policy and compliance for multiple subscriptions. So root tenant is the account. When you create an account first time, that is a root tenant, and then you can create more management groups under that root management group. And the scope of influence is governance conditions applied at the management group level cascade down by inheritance to all associated subscriptions. So under this, in the root tenant management group, you can either create more management groups or you can create a subscription and you will get a default subscription also. For example, a policy limiting virtual machine locations to West US applied at the corporate management group will enforce that restrictions on every subscription, resource group and resource nested within it. So this is how you can create policy at the management group level. So next is the hierarchy depth. So a management group tree can support up to 6 levels of depth, not including the root level or the subscription level. This depth allows for complex organizational modeling, such as mirroring a company's geographical or departmental structure. So there is a limit. A single Microsoft Entra tenant can support up to 10,000 management groups. Root management group. So every tenant has a single root management group. So the tenant is basically the first account which you create with is Azure Cloud. All other management groups and subscriptions fold up to this root. Global policies assigned here apply to every single resource in the directory. So next topic is management groups. So I'll go a bit more detail into management groups. So purpose is unified governance at scale. So these are the logical containers that organize subscriptions. You apply policies and RBAC roles across multiple subscriptions. So RBAC is role-based access control. You can create hierarchical structures aligned with your organization. So as I talked about, it supports up to 10,000 management groups per tenant. And hierarchy depth. So you have root by which you create an account, plus you can go 6 levels deep. And this 10 is the flat. So 10, you can have 10,000 management groups, but if you want to go nested, total you can go 6 levels more. Next is the RBAC and access control. So scope based assignments. So basically you assign roles at management group, subscription or resource group level. So you can go at any level. So we are at the first level. Inheritance. So roles assigned at management group level apply to all child scopes. For example, a reader role at management group equal to reader access across all subscriptions and resources. Then you follow principle of least privilege. So grant minimum permissions needed for job functions. Management group design best practices. So align hierarchy with organizational structure, not technical requirements. You create platform, landing zones and sandbox management groups. You can keep root management group minimal and apply global policies sparingly. Use intermediate management groups for organizational wide policies. Next topic is subscriptions. So a subscription acts as a logical unit of scale and a primary billing boundary. So this is the level at which Azure generates invoices. Organizations often create separate subscriptions for different departments, for example, HR, IT, finance, to simplify cost attribution and financial reporting. While role based access control can be applied at any level, the subscription is a common boundary for owner or contributor privileges for workload specific teams. This segregation ensures that a compromise in a development subscription does not affect the production subscription. Subscriptions act as a container for quotas. For example, the number of vCPU virtual CPUs available in a specific region. There is no limit to the number of subscriptions associated with a Microsoft Entra tenant, but there are limits on resources within a subscription, such as the number of resource groups. So currently it is 980 per subscription. So as already talked about, this is a billing boundary. So you separate billing and cost tracking per subscription, and this also acts as a access control boundary. You manage permissions and RBAC independently, and this acts as a scale unit. You can manage resource quotas and service limits. So their subscriptions serve three critical functions. So next is Azure subscription types. So first one is free account. You get $200 credit for 30 days, and there are always free services, and this is perfect for proof of concept kind of experimentation because it's available only for 30 days. Next is pay as you go. So you pay only for resources used. This is monthly billing and best for production workloads. Then we have enterprise agreement also. This is for large organizations. You can have negotiated pricing as well, and this is commitment based. Fourth is cloud solution provider, CSP. This is managed by Microsoft partners. This is flexible for resellers and partners. Fifth type is Visual Studio. So it has monthly credits for developers, and this is included with Visual Studio subscriptions. And sixth one is sponsored, and you get credits for startups and non-profits, and these are the Microsoft programs. So some key subscription limits. So subscriptions per Microsoft Entra tenant is unlimited. Resource groups per subscription. So this is within now under the subscriptions. You can have 980 resource groups inside a subscription. You can have 50 tags per subscription. Unique tag calculations per subscription. You can have 80,000, and deployments per location 800. Subscription design patterns. So some common separation strategies. So you can have by environment. So you can separate subscriptions for dev, test, and prod. You can separate by department, separate subscriptions for IT, finance, and HR. By geography, so you can separate subscriptions for regions whenever you need. And platform services, dedicated subscriptions for networking, identity, and management. Next topic is resource groups. A resource group is a container that holds related resources for an Azure solution. It is the fundamental unit of deployment and lifecycle management. So this is a logical grouping. It is strictly a logical container. Resources inside a group do not have to exist in the same physical region as the group itself, although this has implications for metadata availability. The primary design principle for resource groups is shared lifecycle. Resources that are deployed, updated, and deleted together should be grouped together. This is crucial for environments like dev or test, where an entire resource group can be deleted to decommission the environment instantly. A resource can exist in only one resource group at a time. However, resources can communicate across resource groups and subscriptions seamlessly, provided network connectivity exists between them. Next topic is resources. So the resource is the lowest level of the hierarchy. It's a manageable item available through Azure. So some examples are virtual machines, storage accounts, web apps, databases, and virtual networks. A special category of resources that extend the capabilities of other resources. For example, a role assignment is an extension resource attached to a scope. So it could be either subscription, resource group, or resource to define access. So these are extension resources. So now, just to summarize, we have Azure management hierarchy, scope, and functions. The Azure hierarchy provides a structured approach to organizing and governing cloud resources across different levels. So first we have management group, and we start with the tenant, root tenant, which is the account which we create. Then inside this, we get the root management group also. The primary function, as I talked about, is portfolio management, and the governance capabilities are policy, compliance, and RBAC. Inheritance characteristics are it passes settings down to subscriptions. Next level is subscription, which is a billing and scale. Governance capabilities are budgeting, quotas, and RBAC. And this will pass down its setting to resource groups. Next in the hierarchy is resource group. This is for lifecycle management, and the governance capabilities are IAM, logs, and deployments. This will pass down the settings to resources. Lastly, which is lowest unit, is resource. This is an operational unit. Governance capabilities are you can have configuration, tags, and diagnostics, and there is not applicable because it's the lowest unit. So resource groups stores metadata. Just to remember this information, resource groups stores metadata about resources, not the resources themselves. Metadata stored in resource group location and region. This is required. So when you create a resource group, you need to choose a region. Resources located. So resources can be any other region, can differ from the RG location. So our resource group can be different, and virtual machine, let's say resources virtual machine, that can be in a different region altogether. Example, resource group in East US, virtual machine in West US, and database in Southeast Asia. So resource group location, this is critical. Location is mandatory and cannot be changed. So once you create a resource group, you cannot change it or modify it later. So regional outage, if resource group region is down, you cannot modify resources. Best practice is to deploy resource group and resources in the same region. Global resources, there are some global resources as well. For example, front door, DNS, traffic manager, and they are independent of any resource group region. Next is the Azure Resource Manager. This is the management layer and single entry point for all Azure operations. ARM receives requests from Azure Portal, PowerShell, Azure CLI, REST APIs, and client SDKs. ARM authenticates, authorizes, and routes traffic requests to services. ARM templates. So there are two deployment modes. First one is incremental, which is the default. This will add or updates only resources in template, leaves others untouched. Next type is complete. So this deletes resources not in template, deploys only specified resources. RBAC and security at resource group level. So apply role-based access control at resource group scope, inherits two resources. So common. So these are the resource group level roles. So first one is owner, which has full control. Next is the contributor, which can create, modify, but it cannot assign access. Third resource group level role is reader, which has read-only access, and you can create custom roles for fine-grained permissions. So some naming conventions, best practices are recommended pattern for resource groups is you can have RG dash followed by region and which environment and project and instance. For example, you can have something like this, RG. So this is West US 2 prod, and let's say project is AZ days and instance name. So note, there's a storage accounts can have only lowercase letters and numbers only, no hyphens, and it should be globally unique. This is only applies for storage accounts because that is also a type of resource. So some tagging strategy, this is essential. So recommended minimum tags you can have is, for example, cost center for billing and chargeback. You can tag your resources as well as resource groups. You can have environment like dev, test, staging, prod. You can provide a owner, this is a team responsible for resource, application, which app service it belongs to, and review date, when to audit and delete. So you can have maximum 50 tags per resource group, and this will enable cost analysis and compliance. So some quotas and limits per subscription. So I'll just cover it here. So you can have maximum 980 resource groups. You can have max 50 tags on a subscription. You can have max 4 MB ARM API request size. You can have max 10,000 management groups per tenant. Some quotas and limits for per resource group. So you can have max. So this is inside resource groups. It contains resources. So you can have max 800 deployments in deployment history. You can have max 800 resources per deployment. You can have maximum 800 resources per resource type per resource group. You can have max 20 management logs per scope, and you can have a maximum 50 tags per resource groups. So managed resource groups. So these are created automatically by Azure services, and these are different from standard resource groups which you create. So user access is limited and it's only read-only. User control cannot directly modify resources. So some examples are Azure Databricks, Azure Synapse, and managed apps. Resource movement. So this is to remember. You can move resource between resource groups, but same subscription, and between subscriptions. But you cannot move the resource group location. This is permanent, as I talked about, and some service specific resources. So key exam points. Just to summarize, resource group is a logical container. Resources can be in different region than RG. RG has a location which is required. Resource groups stores metadata, not resources. Deleting resource groups deletes all resources within it. Apply role-based access control at resource group scope. Tag strategy for cost tracking. Move resources between RGs, that is possible. Monitor quotas and limits, and understand ARM deployment modes. They are two, complete and incremental. So some use case for environment separation. So for example, resource group, you can have something like RG dev app 01 for example dev test, and you can have something for production, RG prod app 01. You can have strict RBAC inside this. You can put role-based access control policies here. It will apply to all resources under it, and you can have a bit relaxed over here. So benefits are lifecycle management, access control, cost tracking per environment. And another use case, multi-region deployment. So single RG, let's say in East US, which is a metadata location for this resource group, but you can have VM in East US, database in West US, storage account in Southeast Asia, and you can have load balancer also, which is global, and this is independent of any region. So best practice is to keep resource group and primary resources in the same region for consistency. And that's all. Thanks for watching.